Welcome back, Stephen K. Bannon. This is War Room Impeachment on the John Fredericks Radio Network, voice of the deplorables in Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. I want to thank John for giving us this hour. For the next 64 days, from 21 October all the way to the day after the acquittal of Donald J. Trump in this impeachment process, we will be here for 1 hour every day, the War Room, to give you the latest news, information, analysis of what this process is, what it means for the country, and how we can get different voices in here. I want to go back. We're here with Jason Miller, Communications Director of the 2016 victorious Trump campaign. And I can tell you, as the CEO of that campaign, we could not have won without Jason Miller taking incomings from the mainstream media every day, particularly Billy Bush Weekend, and Raheem Kassam, who did the same. He's a strategist and comms for Nigel Farage and someone who knows the Brexit, which we're going to talk tomorrow about Brexit. Probably won't have time today. About the Brexit, which is inextricably linked to the Trump revolution, because you're seeing the nullification project of both as the apparatus stands up and says, we do not care what working class people say. You can vote 52-48 in Great Britain, and we're going to overturn it. You can elect Donald Trump with over 300 electoral votes, and guess what? We're going to overturn it. We're not being, that's not editorial comment. Those are just facts, and we're going to peel those facts back as we go. Jason, you were about to hit us with three major items when we left. What is it?
Yeah, as I've thrown out a fair number of criticism, I want to give very specific, here's what we can do. Here's where we can get this back on track. And for anyone who's listening, this is what you need to be telling your conservative friends, your fellow allies of President Trump, these three things. Number one, the White House and Republicans in the House have to start leaking. They have to start giving scoops to right-of-center news outlets, but not just right of center. When you talk about the mainstream media, they are, and I say this, some of them are very lovable and absolute great people, but they're alligators, and you got to feed the alligators. And if they're getting great scoops,
you're saying guys in the mainstream media, Washington Post, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, these other organs, that if you give them scoops, they're going to print the scoop.
100%, and that's what both.
They're not. I thought everything I heard is that they just want to protect the left. They hate President Trump. You're saying if you give them real red meat, they'll print that red meat?
They will. Some of them will. Obviously, some of them won't. I mean, we're never going to see MSNBC or Rachel Maddow out taking this. But when you talk about the respected news outlets, the big boys, the mainstream media, the journals, the New York Times, the Washington Post, if the White House or Republican members from the House are taking good scoops to them, or taking nuggets to them, or doing things the night before to influence those news cycles the next day, absolutely 100%, because you know what? You got to feed the alligators. They want to hear it.
This is not complicated. Why is that not been done? You know, Schiff and Pelosi and the people around them have run literally a military-type operation that the reason we're doing the show and taking time out of our personal life to do it is has been so masterful what they've accomplished, and quite frankly, kind of awe-inspiring. In order to get a countervailing, perspective, we decided to do this. Why is no one on Capitol Hill, in the White House, in the apparatus, even thinking of this?
Because we play by the rules. And we can't do that anymore. I mean, we absolutely have to start punching. And the Democrats do it, and they do it all day long, and they have no regard for any of the rules. We have to. We absolutely have to get in that. Raheem,
unpopular opinion, perhaps, but may I posit that you said people need to start leaking. Unfortunately, some of the people in those organizations on our side would be leaking the wrong way. There are people in there still who are not Trump people. And so when you say, we play by the rules, we play by the rules, and then the ones who don't play by the rules play for the other side.
No, that's a great point. And so, look, in addition to the White House and the Republicans on Capitol Hill getting back in charge of the narratives with conservative media and with the mainstream,
I can see the Brian Stelter's screaming headline on CNN tomorrow. And our first episode is Jason Miller, the leak. We need leakers. We need leakers.
You know what? This is impeachment. I mean, they are absolutely going for the jugular. And
this is as hardball as you get. They're trying to reverse a federal election of a president of the United States. You're saying the stakes cannot be higher.
Cannot be higher. And we can't go by our rules or rules of the past. We have to be playing on a level playing field with what Capitol Hill Democrats are doing to President Trump every single day. And again, here's what we're talking about too. what we're talking about is this is all happening because Schiff and the Democrats are running this in a closed, secretive process, as Jim Jordan said.
Star chamber
down in the basement of the Capitol. If everything was out there, if these were public hearings, if these were testimonies that were being made public, we wouldn't have to do this. But what's happening, just to, again, when I'm talking about leaking, what the Democrats are doing, are taking selective nuggets of testimonies and putting them out there and then using it to drive the news cycle to beat up President Trump. Here's what you don't hear. What you don't hear is the follow-up news story or the follow-up leak of this person came and testified and largely backed up what President Trump said. We haven't seen that from any of them.
Zero.
And we haven't seen any of that.
Zero.
And what we don't know, because these things haven't put out there, and all we can surmise is that they are hearing a lot of that in these hearings, because otherwise they'd make it public. That's why they want to keep it quiet, because they don't want some of these details to come out. But the two other things I want to say on the challenges, besides the White House and the House GOP folks doing this, we have got to get our legal scholars out there to give us the extra cachet, the extra credibility, so it can be folks from the Federalist Society. It can be.
Why is this? What? And Raheem, you jump in here. Why on Kavanaugh? I had nothing but superstar legal nonstop. I'm in Rome at the time, working on some projects there. I'm watching as I can watch. Even seeing that you had tremendous legal talent, Federalist Society and others there every day. Here it's crickets. You know, I got Joe Genova and Victoria and a couple other people close to the president, but I'm not seeing a depth of field. Why is that?
Firstly, there's a very serious failure to take this whole process seriously from the Republican side. A lot of people just think,
because it's fake news, deep state.
Fake news, deep state. The Senate will throw it out. We don't have anything to worry about. Actually,
we're going to run against it in 2020 and win bigger.
Right, exactly. And they're selling more plastic straws on the Trump 2020 campaign website, and everyone's happy about it, right? There is a very serious existential
fundraising at all-time highs.
Yeah, but there is a very serious existential threat via this process that people are just not taking seriously. So firstly, there hasn't been a call to arms, like Jason's call to arms just now, for those very serious legal analysts coming out there. The second thing is, and again, unpopular opinion in some quarters, but I'm used to being unpopular, these old Capitol Hill institutions will they will wait. They will keep their powder dry because they want to see whether they want to throw in behind this president on this issue.
Well, let's go to that. If you look at Mick Mulvaney from the other day, you go out and take a hard stand, and I love the president, but you get thrown under the bus on Saturday night by saying, hey, upon further review, it's not that important. Are people holding back because they don't know the facts, Jason? Are people holding back because they're afraid of other situations coming up with our good friend, your very close friend, I consider my friend, a colleague, Rudy Giuliani? Is that why, to Raheem's point, from the institutional logic, they're sitting there we have something to defend institutionally. It's one thing for Matt Gaetz to get out there. It's another thing for Jim Jordan, another thing for these fighters, Louis Gohmert. But institutionally, not cowardice, but really discernment to say, hey, we really don't know everything that's going on. We haven't seen the transcripts. Are we hearing that from Capitol Hill, from the Intel Committee? Are they correct in saying we ought to hold back?
No, I mean, we need to be out there pushing our message. And again, what we have right now is...
So if they had all gone on Friday, if they had all gone on air Friday nonstop, CNN, MSNBC, and say there's nothing wrong with Doral, Doral's fine, it's all great, everything's fine, this is purely thing. He looked at 100 things, they went to 20. Mulvaney's his pitch on Thursday, right, when he sounded like a condo salesman, right? If you went all in on Friday, we had McCarthy out there and all of them, what would happen to Saturday? You're a comms guy. What happens on Saturday night?
Saturday night, then the media shifts back over to Turkey, or they shift back over.
No, but when he tweets out, "Hey, upon further review, we're not doing a Doral,"
that doesn't happen. If
you think if everybody went all in, he wouldn't have backed off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. If there was some additional air cover on that, 100%, absolutely.
So you think it's not the media's thing? You think it's the Republicans didn't step up to the plate?
Well, but to be clear here, the reason being is because
could they defend that?
I think so. I think
that Jason Miller's defended worst.
No, but part of the thing is we don't have an elevator pitch right now. Democrats have an elevator pitch, and that's very simply President Trump asked
You've seen Rudy on Laura Ingraham.
I have.
You don't think it's an elevator pitch? I love me some Rudy. That's not an elevator. Their pitch is very straightforward. And this is why I don't care if you hate Nancy Pelosi, the sound of her voice, or anything. This is a master, and she's teaching a master class. She held back the progressive left when they wanted to jump all over Mueller. She said, now's not the time, now's not the time. When they got this, it was bang, I got it. It's simple. It's good talking to foreign leaders, particularly dirtbags, right, in these countries who don't really understand, for information on your political opponents. Very simple. I get the elevator pitch, right? And there's no counter to that.
Steve, just I want you to unpack that a little bit more, because you blitzed through that, and I think for the audience's sake, we talk about this all day, every day. Just explain again. It's very important. Nancy Pelosi has had opportunities immediately after the midterms, immediately after the Mueller report. But
I said in my 18 picture, I said, you got to hold the House. I said, they will swear themselves in and form a select committee with Elijah Cummings, those guys, on January 5th and off to the races. And she didn't do it. She was waiting for her moment to strike with something that was simple and clear cut that she thought she could strike on.
Why is this more simple and clear cut than?
Because the elevator pitch, Mueller was too complex. First,
Right.
there was no collusion, there was no obstruction, and I think the report showed that. She realized you'd have to get, and by the way, she had so many people that wanted to go, look at what Nadler did with Corey Lewandowski. They took the one thing in the report, they wanted to go, that was the first of many hearings. They'd already subpoenaed McGahn and Hope Hicks and everybody. They wanted to go all over again. She was saying no, 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 and after Corey blew him up on national TV, it ended. But she was waiting for her moment. What did that mean, Jason?
Well, I mean, look, Nancy Pelosi is, in my opinion, the other than Speaker Gingrich, who we all love, the most effective Speaker of the House that we've seen in our lifetimes. I mean, even better. I mean, Nancy Pelosi runs circles around Tip O'Neill from going back in the day. I mean, Pelosi,
Because he wasn't a killer.
No, and
She's a stone cold killer.
Stone cold, and she has this mapped out. And I mean, look, even there's a reason why the president didn't give her a nickname for so long, because she's a killer and she knows exactly what she's doing. She has all the henchmen lined up.
Does she have a nickname now? What's the nickname?
Kind of not a dedicated one.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say
Isn't it crazy? Wasn't it
Crazy Nancy or some of the things.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not sticking. It's not good. It's not good.
I mean, she's good, and so their elevator pitch is, again, it's faulty, it's false. But President Trump supposedly said this about Joe Biden on this call with Ukraine, where he didn't. I mean, that's just a false factual assertion. I mean, he didn't. But the one thing, Steve, obviously we talked about the House and the White House needing to push out certain messages, talked about the Federalist Society and our experts to get out there and start defending the president on all the networks and start pushing it. We have the brains.
More than just Fox, right? You got to be on CNN and MSNBC. You got to take the torch to the enemy, right?
Absolutely, have to go. And we need the people. As I look at a CNN and I see someone like a Steve Cortez who will stand up to anyone, who's tough, who will absolutely do it. We need legal scholars, attorneys general. We need
U.S. attorneys,
former U.S. attorneys, all on the airwaves. But there's one third part that I think is really critical to point out. When we talk about our friends in the conservative media, they absolutely have to start hounding freshman Democrats from swing districts who are up and who are
ought to be trackers on these guys.
Ought to be trackers on. They are hiding.
Ought to be a camera in their face every day.
Absolutely, and we can't allow them to hide behind Nancy Pelosi, who's damn good, as well as Adam Schiff and Nadler and the rest of these folks. They have to make these folks famous. And look, let's just issue out some tough love here. The wobbly Republicans.
Yes.
And because if we're
the 18 guy, I think it's 18 or 20 that are retiring, those look like targets of opportunity for the Democrats, right? These are guys that are punching out for a host of reasons, some of which they just don't like Donald Trump.
And it has to be made very clear to these folks that they're going to be elevated, they're going to be made famous. And look, even a lot of these folks are
infamous,
right? Exactly. But we can't allow these people to hide, because here's the thing: if we come out of this vote and Pelosi puts up this, some sort of, if everything's done in secret, everything's hidden all the way through.
20 Republicans, you got all 26 or 31 of those the Democrats. But if you dump that on the Senate, we got issues.
But here's the thing: but if we can hold those Republicans in the House, if we can stop the defections, then you look at the 2020 Republicans up for re-election in the Senate. Talk about Cory Gardner, talk about Joni Ernst. Obviously, there's
Tillis.
You start thinking
McSally.
about those. If we don't lose a bunch of Republicans in the House, they can't go and wander off in the Senate.
Yeah.
They can't. They're absolutely, and not saying that they're inclined, well, there might be one or two that are inclined to, but the folks who want to support them but are up in 2020, maybe a little weak need, they can't go wobbly if we don't have a bunch of House defections.
I agree with
That's
that.
why these House defections are so important.
Everything. Okay, before we're going to run out of time here, we're on War Room Impeachment. Jason Miller, former campaign communications director for the Trump Campaign 16. Raheem Kassam, former managing editor, Breitbart London. Stephen K. Bannon, the food and beverage director. In the few minutes we have left, Jason, I want to talk to you and then turn to you and then go to Raheem. By the way, Corey Lewandowski, Dave Bossi on tomorrow. Talk to us about what's happening. Every day we're going to talk about people we're going to make famous. There are people, and this is what I don't get, and we only got a couple minutes left, 5 minutes left. I don't understand. Pat Cibione, who's a great lawyer, right, was a guy that helped us in the campaign with the preparing for the debates, and a smart guy, brilliant lawyer. He sends out this letter, 8-page letter, right? It's a fire-breathing letter. It says, we're not going to cooperate because it's an illegal secret process. You haven't had a full vote in the House, and the reason you don't want to give us due process, we're not sending any documents, we're not sending any people, we're not cooperating. We'll see you in district court and an appellate court, and we'll see you in the Supreme Court, and we'll get back to talking about this sometime in the late summer of 2020. And every day I look, and I got folks from State Department, Defense Department, people are wandering up there. There are documents going over from brother Mike Pompeo, who we all love. What is going on here?
Well, I don't understand it, and I'm not a lawyer, and I will never pretend to be a constitutional scholar in the vein of the Federalist Society folks I was talking about earlier. But what I don't understand is why we haven't seen state and why we haven't seen defense, and quite frankly, why we haven't seen the White House throw down injunctions or file injunctions.
Because these people are saying that they're subpoenaing me not just as Assistant Secretary of State, they're subpoenaing me personally, and I don't want to be in contempt of Congress, so I'm going to go up and testify personally. And your point is, hey, that's fine, but this thing called an injunction to stop you from things. Where are those from the White House? Where are those from the Council of the State Department? Where are those from the Council of the Defense Department?
You're right, and it's absolutely critical. Why I don't understand why we don't have those. I mean, I would love to have someone explain to me that there's some rationale to it, or that we're somehow, because we know that the other side is going to use every lever, they're going to push every button to try to politically kill Donald J. Trump. And if we don't start fighting back and taking it from that same perspective, this is complete sham investigation.
Why are they not fighting hard, Raheem? Why is it? I don't know. We're known as hard fighters. There's something wrong here.
I think the last 3 years has shown us that plenty has developed the wrong way, especially in terms of personnel. I think a lot of people agree with that. But it could make sense to not be getting those injunctions and for those people to be going up and testifying if this was public testimony, if this was filmed, if there were reporters in the room, if there were people, the transcriptions coming out. That could make perfect sense. Because as we know, the nuggets that are coming out, they're so tiny, it goes to prove that the process that's going on right now hasn't got any meat on the bones of it. But that's not the case. And so you should expect the White House, the Defense Department, the State Department to be issuing those injunctions.
The nuggets, like Fiona Hill, why is she even allowed to testify? But the nugget was good. Hey, from Bolton's lip, the drug deal that Rudy and the ambassador working on, I don't want any part of. I mean, that nugget goes, that's a 24-hour news cycle right there. Okay, who's up this week? Who's in the on-deck circle? And I understand we have some breaking news in the fact that not everybody that was scheduled is actually going to testify, so maybe there are some injunctions out there.
Right. And what I was very happy about hearing is that OMB Director Russ Vought, or Acting OMB Director Russ Vought, who I think is a great guy, he said that the OMB folks are not going to be participating in this sham process investigation. So that's off. There had been some reporting that a couple of folks from OMB were going up there. That's not the case. So what we have definitely are tomorrow on Tuesday, we're going to have Ukrainian Ambassador Bill Taylor, who will be up there on the Hill. And then on Wednesday, we're going to have Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense Laura Cooper, who's going to be up there. And per Kyle Cheney just tweeted out, said that because of services and events surrounding the passing of Congressman Elijah Cummings, that most of the others are going to be punted or pushed off until future weeks. So right now, again, Bill Taylor on Tuesday, Laura Cooper on Wednesday. Those are the two that are up.
Is Congressman Cummings going to lie in state in the Capitol?
I thought I'd read that somewhere, but
Okay.
I need to double check. But I
And
think
so
he's-
that would later in the week that will slow things down, and clearly he'll have a ceremony at service at Washington National Cathedral. Sounds like
yeah, and you're going to see. I think
this
you're
will
going
be
to
all hands on deck.
Yeah, you're going to see a real bipartisan come together for
Congressman
Cummings, and especially with the lasting impact that he's had on Capitol Hill.
Okay. A great first day off. I want to have some closing comments. I want to start with you, Raheem. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes, and then you, Jason.
Yeah, I think firstly, it's very important that this is being done. Nobody else is doing this right now, and great credit to Steve and Jason and all the team bring this together. It's so important that people out there understand how important this impeachment war room is going to be every single day. Coming at it with, this isn't opinionizing right here. That's not what we're doing. We're not in the market of that right now. This is facts, 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 facts. And it's super important that other people are exposed to this as well. Here's what we want to happen. We want the Democrats not to control the narrative on this anymore. And nobody else is making that happen. Jason.
You're exactly right, Raheem. I couldn't agree more. And I think that the most important takeaway that I would have for folks who are listening is we can't continue to fight by our rules with one hand tied behind our back when Democrats are out absolutely cutting us into 1,000 pieces every single day.
The Marquis of Queensberry's rules do not apply here.
No.
This is full guerrilla warfare.
This is eye gouging. This is kicking in the shins. This is everything that they don't allow you to do in a boxing match. But they're doing it every single day, multiple times a day.
For the folks at home, do not worry about 2020. 2020 doesn't exist. The only thing that exists in your political life is the next, 11 weeks, the next 64 days. This is an inflection point on American history. President Trump won the greatest come-from-behind victory, I think, in American political history. The nullification project of the elites, the media, the progressive left, the Democratic Party, and everybody in between that's been opposed to President Trump is now, everybody's on the battlefield. There will be a vote before Thanksgiving in the House to impeach him, and then afterwards a trial in the Senate to convict him and remove him from office. If you believe in President Trump or his movement, that is the only thing should be in the universe. I don't want to hear about 2020. 2020 does not exist. The only thing that exists is 2019. This is War Room, Impeachment. Stephen K. Bannon, Jason Miller, Raheem Kassam, Corey, Dave. We'll see you tomorrow.